Hey, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my love-hate relationship with Blackmagic cameras. First, before I want to jump into it, I want to kind of give you a background of my Blackmagic experience. I actually started on the Blackmagic cinema camera. It's like a 2.5K RAW, shot on that a few times, and I was like, this is just gorgeous, it's beautiful. If you look at my YouTube page, you can see this just chock full of reviews and talking about comparisons and all that of Blackmagic cameras. So I have been a Blackmagic advocate for a long time. I still am. I used the Production 4K camera. That was the first one I owned. I used the Ursa, not the Ursa Mini, just the Ursa. That thing was the worst camera I've ever used. I hated it, hated that camera. I was so bummed because I wanted some of the features that the camera had, but it was just so clunky, so huge, with this giant screen that drove me nuts. It was just always getting in the way. It was super cumbersome. I really disliked that camera. I liked the image that was coming out of it, but as far as the camera goes, it was terrible. Then the Ursa Mini 4K came out, and I was stoked. This was everything that I was looking for in the Blackmagic camera. They had the pocket camera as well. The pocket camera I never actually used much at all. I used it maybe once on a shoot. And then they had the cinema camera, that little one. I used that one as a crash cam a lot on cars and things like that. But my workhorses have really been the Ursa Minis. And then the Pocket 4K came out and again changed the game by having such a low price, such a small footprint, and such a great image and such awesome specs. I got that, and now I am selling these two and upgrading to the Ursa Mini Pro G2, which is now giving you 300 frames per second at 1080, which, hallelujah, finally got there. So that's kind of my backstory of Blackmagic. Now let's get into the things that kind of drive me a little crazy. So I don't want this to be a bashing video. I just want this to kind of give perspective to those that are looking into buying into the Blackmagic ecosystem. First off, I would recommend doing it. So that aside, let's talk about all the things I love and dislike about Blackmagic. First off, the price. Obviously, Blackmagic has completely changed the game as far as cinema cameras go, the specs that you're able to get, the type of images you're able to get for such a low price. And I've been like so happy and have been on board with Blackmagic for years because of that. And kudos to you, Blackmagic. Thank you. Fantastic. I love the color space of Blackmagic. I think the color space from the 4.6K to the G2 is drastically better. The G2's color space feels a lot better. The skin tones are a lot cleaner and a lot more accurate. I feel like the 4.6K and even the 4K have a little bit of either green or magenta. Again, it kind of varies from camera to camera. The one thing I will say about the Blackmagic cameras is the fact that they match an Alexa way better than I ever thought. I haven't done a video about this, but I wanted to just give you my thoughts real quick. I shot a BMW worldwide global corporate video about BMW, and we shot it on the Alexa Mini as our A cam, and then our B cam was the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. We had the wooden camera PL adapter, so we could have the same glass on both, and you couldn't tell the difference between the two. The Pocket camera was used for a lot of the stuff strapped to the car, some of the kind of the crash cam, some of the stuff that's like close to the ground. Basically anything that I was a little too nervous or needed to be a little more nimble and run and gun with, I used the Pocket cam, and then everything else was the Alexa Mini. I honestly, as I was coloring it and looking at it and working with the footage, I didn't notice a huge difference between the two, and that's incredible. That's the one thing I've noticed about the Blackmagic color space is it matches Alexa's color space, in my opinion, very closely. Blackmagic is really, really not great at quality control. Their cameras are inconsistent all the time. For example, I'll be renting an extra camera to go with my other two, and somehow the color space looks pretty drastically different from the really magenta to the really green, and it's kind of been the extremes for me. Blackmagic is kind of notorious for being in beta all the time, Their cameras have a lot of issues up front when you buy it brand new, and then with firmware updates, it gets to the point where the camera is really usable and really great. This has been the case with every single Blackmagic cameras I've ever owned. There's always a few issues, sometimes major issues, that either get resolved with firmware or sometimes never get resolved until the next camera comes out. But that being said, the cameras are still incredibly inexpensive and the image quality is incredible. I just wish that Blackmagic would do a much better job of quality control before shipping them out. I feel like they're just so quick and fast and trying to get the next thing out so fast, and in a lot of ways you have to do that. But part of me wishes that they took a little bit longer time to make sure that every single camera, every unit coming out is just like perfect, like QC the crap out of these cameras. And I just don't, from my experience, I don't feel like that amount of care is put into them. They're really good at the support side to make sure like, hey, I'm having issues with the camera. They're like, oh, hey, send it in, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it. I've had that happen multiple times. Fantastic customer support in that sense. I just wish that their quality control would be better. I've had issues with Blackmagic cameras where the camera will just randomly die, and I don't know why. Or it just has dropped frame rates and I'm trying to figure out why. I have like the fast enough card, I have all the things. So that's the part that's really frustrating with me with Blackmagic. I always like to have at least two on set with me to make sure if one dies, I can get the other one to work. And that's not a great thing to happen when you're on a professional shoot. So I just wish that Blackmagic would really do a better job of QCing their stuff. I don't love how clunky and kind of big this is. I love the form factor of the C200 and the Canon cameras, the C200, where it's just a little bit smaller and has a little bit better of that form factor. This form factor still just feels a little clunky, a little big, a little difficult to put on gimbals. You kind of have to have an extender or be able to power off the gimbal through the power port on the back here. So that's kind of frustrating. I don't like how long these are, but again, they solve that by giving you the pocket camera, which is fantastic. It just doesn't quite have this 15 stops of dynamic range, but it still looks gorgeous. I've used it on plenty of shoots. Now, the thing that I do love about Blackmagic is their new ability to get cheap storage. Their USB-C ability to record both on the Ursa Mini Pro G2 and the Blackmagic Pocket, so you don't have to record on incredibly expensive CFast cards. When the Ursa Mini 4K and Ursa Mini 4.6K came out, you had to buy the CFast cards, and they're like, at the time, $600 a piece for like 128 gig or something like that. It was incredibly expensive. Those prices obviously have come down a little bit, but it's still really expensive to buy a 256 gig card versus, you know, a terabyte SSD drive, which is fairly inexpensive and you can just record to that. I personally have the CFast cards. I haven't needed to upgrade them, so I just still use those. So I don't use the USB-C hard drive, but I love the fact that they added that to make it more accessible and make it a lot cheaper for people to have entry level for these cameras. The last major thing that I would say that Blackmagic has done is RAW. B-RAW. I don't know. Do you call it BRAW or B-RAW? Whatever. Blackmagic RAW is absolutely a game changer for me. I shoot everything Blackmagic RAW now. It's gorgeous. The compression's amazing. It works now natively with Premiere, which is absolutely fantastic. When it first came out and I was using it, I was like, I don't want to have to take this into DaVinci and learn a new program of how to edit, or I have to make proxies and bring it over into Premiere, and it's super frustrating. So I kind of stuck with ProRes for a while, and then Blackmagic announced and released the new update to Blackmagic RAW. It now works natively with Premiere, and it's absolutely incredible. It is so lightweight as far as a codec goes. It's not super clunky, but yet it keeps all that information and looks gorgeous. So Blackmagic RAW is 100% what I'm shooting on all the time now. And it's amazing. It's so nice. Even 8:1 and 12:1 compression, it still looks decent. I prefer to shoot either 5 or 3:1 depending on the project, but for the most part, having that flexibility to even go down to 12:1 to get those super slow motion stuff is still great and absolutely fantastic. Blackmagic RAW is a complete game changer, and I absolutely love that Blackmagic took the risk and just went for it and came out with their own codec. I think that's awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys love about Blackmagic, what you hate about Blackmagic, what you wish that they would work on and fix. As far as a camera company that cares about filmmakers, I feel like Blackmagic cares about the indie filmmaker more than I felt any other camera company has. They're just so dedicated with giving you the highest quality video possible at the lowest price point, and I think that's just game-changing and absolutely amazing. So kudos to you, Blackmagic. Thank you. And if you like this content, please subscribe. Check out my other videos. Thanks so much.